So the inspiration behind The Child is Born Chapter 4 came from honesty. Honesty with the music. I think it came with experience in the music industry and in life personally, that the more honest you are, the more real you are, the more people resonate with who you are or with what you present to them. So instead of altering my presentation according to what the tastes of local industries, I decided to be honest. That's why some of the musical approaches that we find in the project, they're unheard. It's because I just came to a point where I just had to be honest with who I am and how I hear music. This is The Child is Born Chapter 4. So with Chapter 1, I was honest. That was my level of honesty then, but then I realized that it backfired. I didn't get any bookings, I didn't get any airplay. The only thing I got was compliments, and compliments didn't put food on the table, So when I went to Chapter 2, I tried to alter my sound, because I wanted to be commercial. But I remember when I was busy with the production, putting it together, I was so excited. I was like, yeah, this is commercial, it's gonna work and stuff. And when it came out, I literally felt in my spirit a disconnection of hearts. So I realized that people loved me for who I was. Yes, it didn't yield to sales, but people just loved me for who I was. And that's why with Chapter 3, the solo piano thing, there was me coming back to the reality of who I am. And with Chapter 4, there's an inclusion of the band and the vocalist. It's just an extension of my real self, that this is who I am. So the pressure of being commercial and doing what will be playable on radio and TV, I'm really over that. Now I want people to love me for who I am, and this is who I am, and this is it. So in terms of the marketing of the project, or let me start here. In terms of gigs, my observation was when you do something for gigs, it means, okay, so with gigs, you have to be booked by someone who's hosting an event and finds you relevant for the event. That's basically the idea of a gig. So meaning, if less people find you relevant for their events, that means you don't get bookings for the gigs. That's my opinion. So which now pressures the artists to be more commercial and more relevant, so that they get more bookings, because they have to be relevant to events so that they make money. So in my case, because now my approach is no longer relevance, but rather honesty, I choose not to do it for gigs. I choose to do it for tours. So because in my experience, I've realized that tours are a presentation of what you have, rather than you being booked because you are relevant for the event. So I'd rather gather people and present what I have in a form of a tour. And that, for me, is more solid and even more financially sustainable. So my marketing strategy, or how I would love people to know about this, is through tours rather than gigs. So my mother is behind the camera, so I have to be careful, and my pastor is in the room, so I have to be careful with that one. Okay, so as you can see, Yeah, there is no Mrs. Mashinini. I just lost my marriage like 3 months ago. I lost the woman of my dreams. I lost the woman I love. So what I decided to do was to dedicate my affection for females to the piano. So I just decided to even channel my resources to investing in this thing. So I believe that the piano will never wake up and say, Sizwe, I don't want you anymore. You know, none of the music will wake up one day and say, I'm tired of you, you know. So rather let me invest in this. I think I've channeled my love for women to the piano, you know. So for now, it will happen when it happens. I'm still young. But that's not where my focus is right now. I just want to push. I just want to push, yeah. There was a time where I was taking a walk, and because I've been playing for different artists for a number of years. So what I noticed was that the audience or the public in general, they resonate with vocals more than instrumentals. I mean, when you ask an ordinary person about a music director of whatever artist, they don't know them, or the bass player of a particular artist. They never pay attention to those details. So when I had an edge of coming up solo, because I kept hearing music that had to go out, my frustration was, I'm not a singer, you know. How do I reach like an ordinary person who's not a musician? That was my frustration. And I remember when I was busy, you know, swimming in that frustration, the Holy Spirit silently told me that the vocalists, meaning people who are gifted in singing, they are burdened with saying what is in God's heart. That's why they have words, lyrics. So they say what is in God's heart melodically and harmonically. With me, he said, God did not make you a vocalist because you ought to present the emotion of God. So that, you know, it became super hard for me to receive, because I did not have reference. I did not know anyone who has presented the emotion of God through the piano or instrumentally. So it was hard for me to channel myself into that, until I remember last year I did like a 40 days fast, and towards the end of my fast, I remember I had a trance where I was downloading the sound. You know, I was downloading the sound, but still, by the time my fast ended, I still didn't grasp the sound. So I didn't know how it sounded like. And that became a frustration since last year, because I just couldn't grasp it. Until early this year, you know, as I was praying, I remember the Holy Spirit telling me that the only way I'm going to grasp the sound is through prayer, because it's not a technical sound, it's a spiritual sound. So I'm going to download it. I'm not going to discover it. So it wasn't here, it was in the spirit, you know, but I could always feel that it is far. So the more I spent time in prayer, the closer the sound was coming to my ears, until just before I decided to do like a solo piano thing. That's when I was in prayer and I felt like a shower of sound into my ears, then the sound started making sense. So it was like I was baptized with sound. So that's when I knew, okay, this is it. Then I decided I have to be honest. I can't commercialize it. I can't, try to make it suitable for an ordinary hearer. It's either you hear it in the spirit or you don't. If you miss it, it's fine. If you catch it, thank God. So the honesty came from the fact that I knew. I remember when during my 40 days fast, I remember the Holy Spirit told me also that God will allow me or release me into my artistic office only if I don't add to the number of those who are not doing what they are called to do. He will release me only on that condition. So meaning, if I add to the number of those who are not doing or fulfilling mandates, God will shut me. So I had to choose as to whether I become commercial or I become honest. And the mission, the mandate is to present how God feels. That's the mandate. And if I'm going to try to do it for the purpose of making people dance or whatever, then I'm missing the mark. If I'm going to do it for the purpose of displaying my skill, showcasing if I can play the piano or how good am I, then I'll be missing the mark. But if I'm doing it from the point of having downloaded and presenting what I downloaded, then I'm within. Then in that case, then I have assurance that I'm going to break in.